What's up, AfterBuzzers? Welcome back to the third season of Glow After Show. Oh my gosh, I'm sure you're like dying right now because you've been binging Glow, and this episode was amazing. You won't want to miss any of it, so stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Oh my gosh, this season is turning out to be incredible.
I know, it's nonstop.
It is, and I mean, I know that we're in Vegas, but I love so much how they're really delving into every character. So no one is getting left behind this season. Everyone is getting a full storyline. Welcome back, guys. I'm so glad that you're here. I know that it is probably like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. where you're at because you've been watching nonstop Glow, and you should be. My name is Candice Cruz, and I'm joined with the epic, beautiful, wonderful Little Egypt. She is one of the original. We'll go with both. She's one of the original Glow ladies, and she is also one of the executive producers on the documentary that was on Netflix that basically kind of sparked this whole journey.
It sure did. That documentary actually is still on Netflix, and so I'd encourage you, if you're having a great time and you're digging this, go down that Glow rabbit hole, because you will have so much appreciation for the work that these screenwriters have done, the research that they've done. I mean, I've just been geeking out. I'm just geeking out right now at just like how much attention to detail was put into the sets and trying to keep the story as close to our original experience as possible.
And I love too that they're doing that, but they're also not hitting you over the head with it. They're really kind of like sprinkling it in and making it really like an experience rather than just, oh, this is what was happening previously, because this is a different experience. It is the same, but it's also very different. Like, these women are living their own journeys, and we really got to see more of that, especially like focusing on insecurity and body issues. And I think the insecurity really, I mean, I've never lived in Vegas. I've only gone to Vegas, but I really think when you're in Vegas, everything's under a microscope.
Yeah, especially for those showgirls, which I thought was really interesting. A lot of people don't know, and I'm just kind of, if you're a Glow geek and want some backstory here, we actually had 2 of our girls were professional dancers.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, Susie Spirit was a lead at the Folies Bergère.
Oh.
A lead. That's like,
that's a big deal.
That is a very, very big deal. And then Lori Palmer, who plays Nanuchka, who I believe that Ruth's character is largely based on, that Russian character. She was a professional dancer since the age of 14, a world-traveling ballerina, ice skater. These girls, they do have stories about weight. It wasn't something that the rest of the cast, because we were just a lot of just actresses and just friends of friends getting on the show, we didn't have that. But when I saw what Debbie was going through and just kind of watching Cherry Bang having to make that decision on does she want to have a baby right now or not.
Well, we're jumping a little ahead to it, so let's like just jump into, because that happened a little bit later in the episode. Let's talk about the beginning of the episode, because we are going to be talking about obviously like body dysmorphia and all of those because of the situation at the very beginning where Cherry is training Sheila in the gym and meets this fabulous, gorgeous dancer. And I was like, oh, we're getting a new character. Who is this lovely lady? And obviously Cherry feels this big responsibility for all these women, making sure that they're in shape and that they're doing their thing. And the girls really just want to enjoy Vegas. Did you all have that weird, like, you want to enjoy Vegas, but also having to stay in shape and balancing that out?
Well, we weren't, one of the things that I thought was really interesting during our time in Glow, we did not have that type of pressure put on us.
Oh, that's good.
It wasn't about staying in shape. We had the choice to go into training if we wanted to. A lot of the girls, after initially they felt confident as a wrestler, stopped going to training, but I was always in training because I never felt confident. I always wanted to push myself. I came in late in season 1 and I had a lot of catch up to do, and I felt a lot of the other girls were really so much more not just confident, but they were executing moves that were a little bit stronger than what I was able to do. So I didn't want to be left behind.
Yeah.
So,
well, I love that Cherry is like making sure that they are having another level of their training within the dancing, because I feel like, and I've never wrestled before, but it seems very dance oriented. Like it's very choreographed to an extent. Like you have to be physically fit. You have to be able to be limber, flexible, all of that.
Yeah. Did you notice that any similarities, like in today's world, since you're a working actress and I'm not, you know, I come from the 80s and what was going on in the 80s. Do you feel like an overwhelming sense that you have to stay, you know, your body image is important?
I think that there's a shift. And I mean, again, like this is seeing a lot of my friends that are actors and being in it and being in the hosting world as well. And I competed in pageants for 10 years. So I think from that, I got a thicker skin of not necessarily letting it get to you in the regards that it's unhealthy. It's more to push yourself to be the best version of yourself, meaning to stay healthy, to work out. I think it takes a lot of stamina and a lot of willpower and mindset. And I've also seen people go one into the other, depending on the industry. But I do think now, specifically answering your question of like acting and hosting, I think the times are changing, that there's way more body positivity, and I don't feel any pressure going into any room to look any type of way. I have not once felt like I'm supposed to be thinner, I'm supposed to be taller, I'm supposed to be blonder or darker. Like there's different conversations happening rather than surrounding weight, I think, nowadays.
It's interesting that you should say that, because if you look at the characters that were affected by their body image, clearly they're the ones that have the biggest mindset issues, because Ruth doesn't have a mindset issue. She's perfectly fine with her body image. Carmen, you know, the Stacy and Dawn. I mean,
I don't want to say that they don't. I just don't think that they're focusing on it. I think everyone has some type of body issue in some way, shape, or form. It's just it all manifests differently. Yeah. And I don't want to negate the experience that I don't know why I'm wanting to call her Betty. I know it's not Betty. Debbie. Debbie is having. I don't want to polarize her either, because, you know, that's a bigger issue rather than just wanting to look good. That's a mental issue that I think she's got a lot of stress on her. And like we obviously see her watching her son, and like there's a big conversation around being a mother and still wanting to work. And when you're working in an industry that is very body aware and physically aware, like how do you deal with having a child and still wanting to be in the limelight? And I think Cherry's dealing with it, Debbie's dealing with it.
And you know what? Flip the tables. Sam is having to go through his own age. Age is playing a big factor for him, and he's really feeling not as desirable. Right?
Every element. When he goes to play tennis, he feels like it. He's like, I can't play. Throws his daggone racket. I do like how they're delving into so many different levels of like the mentality that everybody goes through in different elements. Yeah.
How about you know, right around this point, TMA was doing her acting classes, and I thought. Well, first of all, I thought after the acting classes, when she bent down to pick up her purse and her back gave out, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the beginning of, could be the end of her professional wrestling career. Once it goes, listen, we all have a short shelf life in wrestling. And I wonder if they're going to dig deeper into that and how we transition out of what brought us into the business. How do we transition out? Wouldn't that be interesting?
I think that would be interesting. And I think too, because she's so dependent on this money, especially for her son that's at an Ivy League school. She's trying to put him through school. And then I think it's an interesting conversation, not only within wrestling, but like in general, what happens, and it kind of goes into what he's dealing with the age issues, is that what happens when what your identity has always been is stripped away from you? What do you do? And same with Debbie and having the conversation going up the stairs.
Yes.
And talking about like, you know, she basically, I'm pulling up the character's name. I'm so sorry, because she's obviously our new character and I want to make sure I give her character name the proper title. But either way, I'll continue on my conversation, is that they are addressing what happens when you take the wardrobe off, when you finally decide that you're going to hang up the glitter and the feathers. What do you do, and how cool it is to be on the other side. But I can't find the character's name.
Are we talking about the showgirl?
No.
The retired showgirl, Gina Davis's character?
Thank you, Gina Davis's character.
Yeah, okay.
But either way,
in the stairwell,
stairwell, and I love that they're talking about that as well. Like, you know, that this isn't the end. This isn't the end of your career. It's just a different type of career. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You're awesome.
That was our lovely producer giving us the name.
But there was an olive branch moment there with Gina Davis and Debbie, and I thought that was really, really beautiful. That was like, you know what? It's a tough world, and she sees what Debbie can't see right now, and she's just trying to let her know things are going to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, coming from the age perspective where I'm at, I'm like, you only see what's right in front of you. You don't see anything further than that. And obviously her character's like, listen, it gets better.
Yeah.
Like, I had my 40th birthday in sequins, but as soon as I hung up those sequins, there's a whole new world that's open to her. And Debbie's already tapping into it with being a producer.
Yes.
And finding her own way that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what was also interesting is the relationship with Cherry and her husband.
Oh, man.
That one got real rough.
Yeah, I felt so bad. Keith was, I mean, God, what a great moment he had too, by the way, as an actor. He really delivered there. But I felt so bad for him because he cried, you know? He wanted a family.
I think men don't get to really tap into their emotional side as much as they need to and that they want to. But, I mean, that's an interesting play because obviously you have the conversation ahead of time of like, do you want kids? Do you not want kids? She's had the miscarriage and she's really liking where she's at in her career. And I asked you this too. Because we're still having this conversation now in 2019 of like, men don't get asked what happens to the children when they're working, but the women always get asked that. I feel like it was definitely escalated in the 80s. What was that like being a professional woman in the 80s or trying to pursue your career and wanting to start a family at the same time? Like, was that the end all be all? Like, once you have a kid, it's like, you're done?
Well, it's funny you should say that because even on the set of Glow, and for those that were around at the same time I'm speaking from my own personal experience. I'm not, making any references that I speak on behalf of every single person that's ever stepped in the square circle. But what I am saying is what I saw was from my friends. We didn't talk about our boyfriends. We didn't talk about if we had children. We knew that brought down our stock value. It showed that we could not be relied on. Isn't it crazy? Like, I have a child, you can't rely on me because I might have to take him to school because I couldn't get a ride for him. Or I have a boyfriend, you can't rely on me because I might put his needs in front of the needs of the show. I know it's so silly, but that's why we didn't have these internal conversations. We just didn't even want to bring it up. Now there were some that did bring it up, like Queenie had her husband there. They were living in the same room, so that was different. She was in her 40s, but most of us, we wanted to have that airtime, right? We wanted to get in front of the camera as much as possible, and to do that, you had to have stock value. And I think they're doing a good job at kind of representing the exact same thing. Don't you think?
I do. I do. And I think it's just, it's such an interesting topic. I know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I could go on for days about that one.
Yeah.
Because I think it feels like you're so solely, that becomes your identity. Yeah. Like, we're talking so much about identity within this episode of like Ruth also figuring out her identity. She's kind of like been the nurturer in this episode, but also there was that interaction between Sam and her in the hallway. Of like still dealing with the age issue. Yes. But Sheila is the one that really hit home for me being in the acting class. And I think we start seeing this journey that obviously like will carry on, I'm sure, into other episodes of her. Sheila has been her cover, like the She-Wolf has been her cover for so long. And she even mentioned in previous seasons that that's when she feels the most alive, is when she's got the costume on. And I think that that's switching because so many people are talking smack about it and wanting her to become fully who she is as a person rather than this character, even when she's in acting and she's finding something that she loves. If you're going to dress up as a wolf all the time, you're an actress. Just saying. Perfect
example of how the truth hurts too. In a way, like truth. Sometimes we need to hear it, And it's been coming from so many different sources that, she's finally realizing that if she does want to evolve into her greatest being, right? If she does want to really expand with all these opportunities that are in front of her, she's got to take a big leap. Amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where that goes, because we didn't really see a lot of her in the first season, and then second season we saw a little bit more, and then now we're getting a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like the season is all about. It's not just Vegas, it's building everybody up.
All the characters.
Yeah. And the one last character I do want to talk about is Bash.
Yeah.
This whole, again, we're only on episode 3. I know you guys are going to stop watching us here and going back to episode 4 and binging more, but I feel like the season has already said so much about his character, and like we already had an inkling that he might be gay in the previous season.
Do you think he is?
Do we want to go into that?
It's just your personal opinion.
Sure. Honestly, I think he might be bi, and I think he's confused, and I think he's basically like negating everything. He's like got a stronghold of like these emotions, because we obviously see he has an issue when he finds out that his old butler Fabian dies, and like we see the emotional like element of it. And didn't he go to a gay bar that season as well?
He sure did.
With a friend. So I think he already knows instinctively that he has that. And I'm interested to see where that goes. But I think a lot more, he's covering up all these insecurities about his sexuality with like peacocking, as I'm going to say, with like the tennis match and the twins, and showing the twins off to the ladies, and like trying to get into all the clubs and doing all the networking that he's doing. I think he's really just trying to like puff up his chest and be like, I'm a man type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that what you're feeling in this episode?
Well, yeah. Well, I can't wait to see where he goes, because he's definitely curious.
Yeah.
And where's that curiosity going to take him? Is it going to take him down his true path of like how he's supposed to live authentically and true to himself? I don't know. I'm so excited about episode number 4.
I am too, because we gotta go watch it too.
Yes.
But guys, obviously this show is amazing, and we have so many different character breakdowns. So every episode, come back, watch our after show here on AfterBuzz TV on the comedy channel, and you can see all of our commentary about every single episode. I love sitting with you and watching these episodes, because I feel like I'm getting like the behind the scenes scoop about what's real and what's not.
I am just so impressed, like I said, just from because I lived it. I'm so impressed at the attention to detail of just replaying what life was like for a lot of us. The casino's way smaller, the showroom's super small. We were in a house where we were had 300-400 people lined up every week. We weren't selling tickets, because you couldn't sell tickets to a show, because then we couldn't use their faces on television. So we were giving out free tickets, and there would just be a queue of people lined up ready to come in and see the show. And for us at this point, they're showing the same matches, where we had different matches every week. Oh, really? Yeah, okay. Because we were actually filming a show, so it was a little different.
You had to.
Yeah, and then so like the buffet area, the rooms where they're eating, all that is on a smaller scale. The Riviera Hotel was on the Strip. Our marquee was huge, and we were the talk of the town.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, one more thing before we hop off here. We didn't talk about the little burlesque show that Ruth gave to Debbie at the end to do a little play on what the two twins were talking about, of like the showgirls and the size of things supposed to fit into a champagne saucer. And poor Debbie's just feeling like low about her body, about like obviously the dance class, and then her son, and Ruth sees that, and we're finally seeing them like come back together and be friends again. Like even at the beginning of the episode, she's like, we're going to take a dance class, and she was like 5, 6, 7, 8, did like the little like, okay, I'm playing with you.
Yeah.
And to see Ruth full on take the shirt off and do the dance, and then Sam coming in.
Oh my God, Candice, when we were watching that, the room dead quiet. Like you and I, our jaws were like, did she just show? Was that her real boobs? They're beautiful. Golly, they're gorgeous. You know, and all we're talking about is like, does she get paid extra for that?
I don't know what her bank account is, but listen, she did a great job.
Oh my God.
It wasn't, what I love, it was classy. It wasn't cheesy. It wasn't too much. It wasn't like overtly anything, because obviously we've seen nudity within this show. Yeah. And even from episode 1, we saw nudity from this show.
Oh yeah.
So that wasn't the shock for me, but just like the way that she did it, I was like, yes,
put him out
queen.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Put that showgirl thing on and do it.
Yeah.
And poor Sam walking in.
It was awesome.
Oh,
it was awesome.
That moment. And then they go ahead and have the cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's finally, like, I'm glad that the duo is figuring it out. They're coming back together.
At the very end, and Debbie goes to the bathroom. How did that make you feel when she forced herself to vomit up her hamburger?
It made me cry. Yeah. To be honest with you, because I know how many men and women deal with that issue. And, you know, I've had family members that have dealt with that issue, and it's not anything to be taken lightly of. So anybody that is having those issues, I hope that this show gives an opportunity to shine light on it, and not in necessarily a positive way. It's more of like, you know, I'm hoping that they will shine it as you have the opportunity to get better, type of thing, and that you're not alone. So it was a very emotional moment, and I mean, Betty Gilpin, her performance was epic, of just watching the son, didn't speak a word, of watching the son holding her stomach, going and looking at herself in the mirror and like examining herself like every woman does, and then making that conscious decision. And once she's done, she comes and looks in the mirror and has that moment, and then she smiles at herself. And I was like, and that is why you were nominated for an Emmy, my dear. That was amazing. But I'm super excited to talk all about episode 4. I hope you guys enjoyed our commentary all about episode 3. So hop on over to Netflix, watch episode 4, and then come back to AfterBuzz TV and watch us here on the Comedy Channel. Again, my name is Candice Cruz. You can find me on all my social media at Candice R. Cruz. And where can they find you?
You guys, you can find me on all social media at Little Egypt, and the official page, or Glow Little Egypt, on Facebook. Tons of great photos of these girls from the time in the 80s. So scroll through my albums and go down that Glow rabbit hole. This is based on, this has real roots. This really did exist at one time in history. So please, you know, join us, and let's try and bridge that gap between the real story and what's happening here. It's beautiful.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.
Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.